In this session, we're looking at the issue of staying connected to our teenagers. Let's be a fly on the wall for a moment. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, it's a Saturday, and Susie, aged 45, is having a conversation with her son, Ben, aged 14. Well, Ben, I expect you'll need a lift home tonight from the football match, won't you? I suppose so. Well, darling, it's a long way. There's no bus. You don't want to walk, do you? No, I suppose not. But don't be early. No, love, I'll be on time. Yeah, but don't be early. And don't sit in the car and wave at me so other people can see. Oh, okay, I'll pretend I don't know you. Cool. And don't wear that green coat. Why not? Because it's green. And don't even think about standing up and actually watching the football match. You've seen football matches before. Okay, I'll pretend I don't know you. Perfect. And don't even think of talking to Mr. Hathawayte and laughing at his jokes. Why not, lovey? He's quite funny. I could do with a laugh. No, he's not. It's embarrassing. It's only you and the other mothers who think he's funny. Oh, okay. Actually, don't even wait outside the school gate. Park around the corner by the cafe and I'll come and find you. It can be hard being a parent of teenagers, can't it? Sometimes we feel like a private butler who's got a taxi service on the side. The only difference is apparently sometimes people speak to their butlers or taxi drivers. And at times we can feel we're not needed, that our teenagers don't really want a conversation with us. They don't want to stay connected to us. But we are still needed. In fact, we're needed as much as when they were small. They're trying to find their way in the world, and it is desperately important we stay connected to them. But sometimes we have to work a little to find those ways of staying connected. When my daughter was about 13, we started going once a week, once a fortnight to a local hotel about 7 o'clock at night. And we'd sit in the foyer. It was a kind of an adult setting. And my daughter would have a Coca-Cola, I'd have a coffee, and we would talk. My daughter could make conversation into an Olympic sport. She would pour out her heart to me. It was wonderful. I loved those evenings. So much so that when my son hit 13, I decided I'd do exactly the same with him. It was agony. He'd drink his Coca-Cola in about 10 seconds, and I'd say, let's talk. And he'd say, about what? I would be dragging syllable after syllable out. It was horrible to watch. So horrible I almost gave up. And then I discovered a hotel with a pool table in it. Now he needed me to feed the 50p's in. And sometimes as we played, we would talk. You know, when that boy was 18 or 19 years old, he would sometimes come into our bedroom at 11:30 at night. I'd be fast asleep. And he'd wake me up. Dad, yes, do you fancy going for a curry? Oh, okay. 9 times out of 10, I would climb out of bed and into a pair of jeans. I have eaten chicken tikka masala at midnight more times than I care to remember. Because sometimes you have to grasp a little conversation, a little connectedness when you can. Can I urge you to find shared interest with your teenagers? It doesn't much matter whether it's football or cooking or watching films, just something that gives you the chance to spend some time and occasionally talk together. And perhaps we ought not to despise those car journeys, because then at least they need us. They're in the same space as us. They can't get away. And those conversations, no matter how small, sow the seed of a glimmer of hope for tomorrow, deeper conversations in the future. Don't lose heart as you try to stay connected to your teenager. Those grunting years will stop. And one day they may even say to you, hey, Mum, Dad, thank you. You did a pretty good job. And even if that wonderful day never comes, you'll know you've really made it when they are grown and you overhear them giving their friends advice that you gave them as though they had just thought of it. Staying connected was worthwhile after all.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I still need my parents. I depend on them.
Not that much.
A lot.
Yeah. Quite a lot because I'm just 13, so...
I need my parents quite a lot at home because I can't cook.
Just the whole staying at home, but apart from that, not really.
I tried to cook chicken before and it turned out like Rice Krispies.
I don't feel I need my parents as much as I did when I was a kid because I can do some more stuff by myself.
Yes. Yes, because of the financial support.
Money.
Get money off them because I want, if I want to go into town or something,
I think I do on a more emotional level.
When I'm really stressed out and if I've got trouble with my friends, she always gives me the right answer.
They're just there for someone to like just offload on and tell them all about like how bad your friends are. Thanks.
They're there for you if no one else is.
I've still got issues, I've got disabilities, so I can't fully break away yet.
I've become really independent, but like the odd times where you do still need your parents, like they're always there to fall back on.
I don't know, I just kind of like need her.
She wakes me up in the morning, because if she doesn't wake me up, I'll sleep till like 5:30 in the afternoon. Yep.
Bye then.
Where's Mum and Dad?
I don't know.
They're meant to be giving me a lift.
They're meant to be giving me a lift too.
Equal rights for parents.
Strike! Strike!
Equal rights for parents. Equal rights for parents. Strike!
Equal rights!
Strike!
Strike!
Equal rights for parents.
Equal rights!
Equal rights for parents.
What kind of things do you do for your teenager? Just about everything, I would say.
Everything.
Practically everything, really. They just become lazier and not willing to do as much, I find. And getting them out of bed, that's a task and a half, especially on school days.
We do nearly everything for them, really, don't we? We do lots of things. Whatever they're involved in, we support them wholeheartedly, really.
Well, my parents do quite a lot for me. They, like, as a child, they used to run us everywhere. Like, that is a big, important thing to me. Like, now I drive, obviously, I realise how much they used to take me everywhere, like dropping you to school and stuff. So, in that sense, but still, they do run us around all the time, pay for things, don't they?
Yeah.
And, like, there's always times, they always put us first. Like, I like that about my parents.
We house her, we clothe her, we give her advice, we give her chastisement.
My dad does absolutely everything for me. He's always there for me when I need picked up. He's there when I need to be put in my place because he's my dad. He just does absolutely everything. He cooks. He's always just there for me when I need to rant about something like from work or my friends.
I don't think that'll ever change if she's a teenager or a fully mature grown adult. I think that just, that maybe the wording at times will change, but what we do as parents will continue right throughout our lives. Most of the things that we do are for his education, they're just for his growing up, family life.
Oh, well, they both do, like, more than enough for me. I think my dad also, again, helps me with all my stuff too with rugby and gives me as much advice as possible, and same with my mum, but she's also a physiotherapist as well, so my mum helps me out with that and stuff like that. So, and also my school stuff as well, she likes to help me out with that.
Feeding him the food that he likes and spoiling him when he's here, really, and you know, just allowing him to chill out with his friends and just have a good time.
All the driving around, dropping off, collecting, with their friends as well.
Everything.
Yeah, I think she does everything for us.
Everything.
Everything. She does everything a mother's supposed to do and more. And she's amazing for that. Yeah.
Do we feel appreciated? He maybe doesn't show it, but I'm
pretty sure that he does appreciate things.
As being a young kid, you don't really pay attention to what people do for you, and you don't appreciate it enough. But when you get older, you might not show it, but you do appreciate it.
They get the occasional text of thank you. That's nice. That's sweet. And
She's so caught up at times in her own life and her own world that she actually forgets about what's happening here. I actually think she very much appreciates. How she shows the appreciation is another matter.
I really do. I think sometimes I don't show it as good as I should, or I don't show how I truly feel when I appreciate him, but I really appreciate him so much beyond what anyone knows.
Perhaps not so much on a day-to-day basis. They don't always remember, do they? But for big things, I'd say, yeah, they are.
Like, I know presents always like a stereotypical thing to get them, but it's nice to show them at like Christmas and birthdays. Like, I'll write them a card and we'll say like how much we do appreciate them, we love them.
With them getting older and being teenagers, yes, I do have some moments of feeling appreciated.
I do try to say thank you as much as I can.
Being the only woman in the house, the dog's even a boy, I'm quite a tomboy, but I think that sort of female, I will get a hug and I will get a thank you. Sometimes I have to rant first and then they come and give me a cup and go, Mum, we know you do this, and we're sorry you do that. But I do feel appreciated.
Well, with my boys, I start with basic things like going out for
haircut.
a haircut with them. We have the same barber. We go out on the same day. We make we make an event out of it. So spending time, because during that time, a lot of things pop up. We discuss things, and even after that, we go out for a meal. It's like our thing.
I think we spend more time with my dad because like we're the boys, so like we watch football, and like we'll talk about football like after every Sunday.
Dad and football with the boys, yeah, that's their thing.
We try and make at least one night a week a family night. Make sure that they're both in.
We just like sit down and watch like films and that mostly. We watch films, we do homework.
Just relaxing, watching TV, even just chatting.
I went out with my 15-year-old son. He wanted just to hang out with me, hang out and chill with me and have a coffee and go to his favourite shop.
When we get the chance is just to go out and have a walk, take the dogs out. He likes to go out shopping actually sometimes, just to occasionally get a little bit of advice about what to wear now and again.
The affection coming from them is very different from when they were young kids, but it's still very much there.
Yeah.
They show us affection by giving us hugs and kisses and rewards.
Yeah, and they're not obviously as affectionate when friends are around and everything, and that sometimes can be hard because we're quite an affectionate family.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yeah, we are.
Our teenager shows us affection, I think, when I ask him to give me a hug sometimes to just... I feel like I need a hug now and again and just, would like him to come and give me one.
The bigger boys come and now they're taller than me, I quite love it. They come and just give me a big hug.
They're both very good huggers. They will give you a big hug now and again when they want to.
They always say like I love you before I go to bed or something, and then they always ask like how my day has been and all that. So that's like kind of caring for me.
For me, it's banter.
Yeah.
We'll say something to each other just to wind each other up.
Yeah, you're a tease.
That's basically how we are. For me, I'm not the greatest of cuddlers, so it's easier for me to banter with them, and
he winds them
they
up.
banter back.
My teenager likes to spend the majority of his time in his bedroom, occasionally leaving the room for meals and the occasional thing on the TV that he likes to watch. But more often than not, it's in his bedroom, playing on his Xbox. It doesn't really bother me as a parent that he spends a lot of time in his bedroom. I think what does bother me more is that when we ask him to do things with us as a family, he tends to want to stay there. I'd like him to enjoy the walks that we used to do as a family when he was younger. You know, he was the first with his coat on. So the fact that it can sort of draw him away from other activities with the family can be a bit of a problem. If I make the first move, if I go to hug him or ruffle his hair or tell him that I love him, he goes, "Oh, Mum," or he pulls away. But yeah, there is the occasional moment where, you know, he'll put his arms around my waist, give me a squeeze, put his head on my shoulder. If he feels inclined to sort of want to hug me on his terms, then that's fine. We don't get a lot of time together. We get up together in the morning. He still likes, you know, Mum to be there in the morning, getting his breakfast ready. He started to show a little bit of interest in sort of preparing his own meals. So that hopefully will be the next, you know, phase that we'll be able to spend some time together, sort of preparing meals together. Who knows? I kind of feel there's a light at the end of the tunnel when sort of the two of us are like that, when there's sort of that interaction, when he smiles at the food I'm telling him I'm making, you know, the fact that, you know, he sits in his bedroom for the majority of the time, that it's not going to be forever, and that one day he'll emerge. He'll be the son that probably was when he was 7, just a bit bigger.
Well, in this session, we're looking at staying connected with our teenagers, and it's great to have with us Krish Kandaya and Sarah Abel. Krish, we heard that story from that mum about the struggles of staying connected with her teenager when he spent a lot of time in the bedroom. And I know in your family, you've got a wide experience of your own children, but also you've fostered and you've adopted. So tell us a bit about how you relate to what she was saying.
I can really relate to what that mum was saying. We've got 3 teenage children, and there is a sense that you're kind of mourning what they were before, you know. So she talked about, you know, wishing he was that 7-year-old boy again. And just, I guess, one of the things that we celebrate as the children grow up is that they're finding their own place in the world, who they are. And so you don't want them to spend all their time with us. We want them to become independent, but it's hard for us to get used to that transition.
So Sarah, why is it important for us as parents to try and keep that connection going strongly with our teenagers, even though they may not be giving us any sign back that that's what they want?
I think our connection is the foundation which teenagers can then explore the world from. It's like, as a family, we're creating base camp for them, and then they can go off and do their own thing. And I think as teenagers, they're often asking the 3 big questions that all of us really ask in life, which is, am I loved? Can other people be trusted? And does what I do matter? And as parents and as a family, we can help them to answer that and to provide the security and connection that helps them to discover their significance, their self-esteem and their security. And as they've got those foundations, those roots, they can then fly and explore who they are as adults.
So Krish, what are some of the different ways that you found that you've been able to connect with your teenagers?
So we've worked hard to try and find different ways to connect with each one of them. So with my oldest son, tech, that's his thing. He'll read all the latest reviews, watch all the latest YouTube videos, and he'll come and tell me what he's found, and I'm becoming more interested in the kind of technical world. With my daughter, I'd try the whole, she'd come home from school and I'd ask her all the questions. How was your day? Yeah, fine. What did you do? Nothing. So I needed to find something else. And so I've become a Taylor Swift fan because music is her thing. And with my middle son, I guess in the mornings, he really doesn't like to be touched, you know, so I'll pat him on the back and he'll kind of give me a shiver. And but I've realised that, you know, later in the day, that's okay. For some reason, his body works differently, and so a hug in the afternoon or in the night time, that works for him. And so we've just been experimenting with different ways.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Showing our teenagers physical affection can be difficult. It's a time when they're a bit more self-conscious, and there are definitely times when it's not appropriate for us to do that. And we've learnt, I think, to try and spot when the best times are. Very often got it wrong. I remember one occasion when one of our sons was going off on a school trip, and I chose to give him a great big hug and a kiss in front of all his friends looking out of the coach window, and that didn't go down very well. But actually what I realised was he really needed that hug. He just didn't need it in front of his friends. And so we learnt to give him the hug, the kiss or whatever, at home behind the closed door before he set off on the trip or for school or whatever else it was. Because I think our teenagers do need to know that we love them through physical touch in different ways.
I think a really helpful way of thinking about it is the love languages that psychologist Dr. Gary Chapman talks about. He talks about how we have 5 different ways that we receive and we give love to each other. And one of them is touch that we've been talking about, but there are 4 others as well. So there's time, we're spending quality time with our teenager. There's actions, which is doing things for them. So that might be picking them up in a car or making a meal for them. There's words, which is speaking loving words, affirmation, encouragement to our teenagers. And also there is gifts. It doesn't have to be big, expensive gifts. It's just finding things, tokens of our love that will speak love to them. So it might just be buying their favourite chocolate bar when you remember, or buying some music that they like, something that shows us that we've really thought about them. And so perhaps a challenge for us as parents is to experiment, to explore what is that primary love language that really speaks love to our teenager. And often it won't be the one that necessarily speaks love to us. So we may have to learn it, we may have to experiment, to try things that speak love to our teenager, to that individual.
And I think if we watch how our teenagers show their friends or even us on different occasions that they love us, that often is the one I think that they really need us to do more for them. I know my daughter, she's incredibly generous. She'd always be buying things for people, making things for people. And we noticed that. And my husband would often buy her just a little bunch of flowers and put it in her bedroom with a little note. And that just made such an impression on her. I think it really said to her that he loved her. And her friends would come around and they say, "Oh my goodness, can't believe your dad's done that. That's amazing." And again, one little thing, but he had to think about it and be intentional about it.
That quality time one's interesting. It's when that quality time is. So I can't diarise it in one sense because I can only offer it when they're willing to receive it. So, for one lad, it is late at night. That's quality time for him, and it's being available at that moment. For others, it's after school. Some of them really need you to be there, or it's a school performance that they need you to be at. So again, it is basing it not around my demands and my desires. It's around when they're willing to receive it from me.
Yeah, I think that is really great. And I think it is about being intentional, it's about being available, but also sometimes it's about spotting the times when our teenagers are giving us signals that they want to connect with us. I remember on one occasion, well, probably many occasions actually, when we had family film nights, and they'd all be sitting there watching a film that probably I didn't particularly want to see. It wasn't the kind of film I was that interested in. So I would be faffing around, getting popcorn, getting drinks, getting what I thought was important sorted. And they would say, Mum, will you come and sit down and just watch this film with us? You're missing the beginning, you're missing the best bit. And I learnt actually that even though I wasn't particularly interested in the film, just being there, stopping doing all the kitchen stuff and just sitting down with them, that said to them in a really powerful way that I loved them, that I wanted to spend time with them.
And I think what you're saying is so important, that we experiment, that we keep persevering to try and find the thing that actually works for our teenager. And it will be different, as you said, for different teenagers in the family. And also with one teenager, it may change from day to day, from week to week. They might have different ideas about what they like or what they want from us. So it's not giving up, it's keep going, keep trying.
And I think it can be quite difficult sometimes for those who are step parents, building that connection with teenagers who are stepchildren.
Yes, often it can be difficult and sometimes even traumatic to go into those new relationships, to build connections with children that you haven't necessarily had a history with, and to start that process of building a connection. And it can be difficult for all kinds of reasons. And I remember one 14-year-old stepdaughter, she said later on, she said, oh, I love my stepmom, but it wasn't always easy. And at the beginning, she struggled with that sense of loyalty. Like if she was going to give and receive affection with her stepmother, did that mean she was being disloyal to her mother? And so there's a whole lot of process that you have to go through and work out. But I'd say keep going, keep persevering, and maybe importantly, go at their pace, go at the stepchild's pace rather than your pace. Go at what they need and what they want.
Those same issues are present for foster parents as well, that children that have been removed from mum or dad feeling disloyal, connecting with their adoptive parents or foster parents. And so I agree, just keep going. That connection is so important, and it might be hard at the beginning, but the dividends are worth investing for.
And I think it's important as well as in lone parents, but also in big families where perhaps you've got step families or lots of siblings, that there's some attention that people are getting individually, and sometimes that might not come from the parents, it might come from someone who's outside the family who can invest some more time into the teenager. So I remember one friend was one of 5 siblings, and he always complained that he didn't really get that sort of one-on-one attention at home. And he had a godmother who used to really show him attention, would remember his birthdays, would remember Christmas, and every holiday would take him out on a day's outing to do something that he really wanted to do, whether it was go to McDonald's or the cinema or play video games or whatever it is. And he said that was so special for him. Someone was bearing him in mind. He felt special to that person, and that was really important for him in his development.
That's a lovely phrase, actually, isn't it? To have someone who is, who has you in mind as a teenager, as a young person. And I guess that's what this is all about, really. In their teenage years, our teenagers' deepest need for unconditional love and keeping that positive connection in all those different ways is showing them that we do love them, that we value them, that they're special. And out of all the things that we've talked about, if you could give one top tip to parents, what would it be? Sarah, what would be your one top tip?
I think if you're feeling that distance with your teenager and you're feeling a disconnection, ask yourself the question, what could I do today to build that connection? And if it doesn't seem to work, just keep persevering, keep trying different things.
Brilliant. And Krish, what for you? What would be your one top tip?
I think the big thing I've been learning lately is that I need to not just mourn what my children used to be when they were cute 7-year-olds, but accept them as they are and then find a way to express love in a way that they need to receive it and make it about them, not about my needs.
Brilliant. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for being with us. It's been really great. Thank you.
In this session, we've been looking at the issue of connectedness. How can we let our teenagers know that we love them? I've often asked parents, what is the greatest gift you can give a child? And all over the world, parents answer in the same way. Love is the greatest gift. I think they're probably right, but there is another gift. And if this gift is not given, a teenager will never believe that they are loved. It is the gift of acceptance. I think of a woman now, she's 40 years old, she's slim, very attractive, she looks half her age. And she's chatting to me, and suddenly into the room comes her 14-year-old daughter, slightly overweight. And in my presence, this woman says to her own daughter, you know what, Sarah, I'm 40 and you're 14, and I'm in better shape than you. Does that woman love her daughter? Yes, she does. She would give her life for her. Does she accept her? No. And it will be hard for that teenager to believe that she is loved. I call acceptance love without strings. It is the belief that in a world that judges you daily and eventually announces its verdict on your life, there is at least somebody who accepts and loves you anyway. Of course we want our teenager to do well. Of course we want them to reach their potential. If possible, we'd like them to win the race, to pass the exam, to look as good as they possibly can be. But we also acknowledge how important it is to instill in them the value that they are accepted and loved anyway. We didn't have much money in our home when we were kids, and I remember shortly after I passed for the grammar school, my mum taking me aside and saying this to me, "Rob, I know you have to mix with kids who have more money than us, but I want you to know this, you are as good as anybody. You are not better than anybody. Treat all with respect, but you are as good as anybody, and I believe in you. You are special. And actually, Rob, you are special to God, and later in life you will find out how precious that is." What a foundation to send a teenager into the world with, that incredible belief, I am accepted. But you know, in that school I wasn't very good at practical subjects, and I well remember the woodwork exam. The teacher said we could either make a coffee table or a potato plunger. You may not know what a potato plunger is, but essentially imagine a shovel with the metal bit taken off and just a sharp pointy end. It made a hole, you put potatoes in it, it's not complicated. I looked at the plans for the coffee table, I knew it was impossible. I gave that potato plunger everything I had. And finally I lay it on my desk and I watched as the teacher came past coffee table after coffee table, and eventually he came to me. He said to me, "What is it?" I thought that was rather hard. It obviously wasn't the coffee table. I said, "Sir, it's a potato plunger. You push it in the ground, you put potatoes in it." He said, "It's awful." I said, "I did my best." It was over 50 years ago, but I can remember his reply as though it were yesterday. "Parsons," he said, "your best is not good enough." Where'd you go as a teenager of 14 when your best isn't good enough? In fact, where'd you go as a woman of 40 when your best isn't good enough? Because the truth is, this is not just about the girl of 13, the teenager of 14. This is about the woman of 30, the man of 40. Because what is put into us in our young lives makes a foundation on which we build that life. And what a foundation to send a teenager into the world with. The assurance that irrespective of success or failure, we are loved and accepted, at least by our parents, anyway.